We might be, dare I say it, folks, we might be about done. There appears to possibly be a light at the end of the impeachment trial tunnel. Now, it's impossible to say for sure, but it looks more and more likely that final votes in this trial might occur as early as tomorrow. Let me explain that just a little bit. Yesterday, as we told you on the broadcast, the Senate moved into its question and answer phase. And if you were watching, you know that it was a pretty significant shift from what we saw during the presentation stage, where only one side at a time was up and they were able to speak uninterrupted. Yesterday, from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon until about 11 o'clock at night, senators actually had to write their questions down on cards. They were then passed up to the Chief Justice of the United States, who then read them. And whichever party that the question was addressed to then had up to 5 minutes to respond. And sometimes the questions were addressed to both sides. There was 8 hours of that, back and forth, more than 90 questions. I think the count that I saw was that 93 questions were asked in all. So there was a lot of back and forth. And then there will be 8 more hours of that again today, and that will be the end of the questioning phase. And then tomorrow is going to be a very critical day, folks. I'm sure you've seen this talked about in the media. This is where a lot of the attention has been for some time now. We have tried to walk you through this phase by phase, but what's going to happen tomorrow is the Senate is going to be debating for 4 hours and then voting on and deciding whether or not to call additional witnesses.
There has been conflicting testimony about how long the Senate might be tied up in obtaining additional evidence. At the beginning of this trial, the minority leader offered 11 amendments to obtain additional evidence in the form of documents and depositions from several federal agencies. If the Senate had adopted all 11 of these amendments, how long do you think this impeachment trial would take?
It would take a long time. It would take a long time just to get through those motions. But there have been 17 witnesses. We're talking about now additional witnesses that the managers have put forward and that Democratic leader Schumer has discussed. He's discussed 4 witnesses in particular, as if this body would, if it were to grant witnesses, would say, yes, you get those 4 witnesses, and the White House and the President's Counsel gets what? Whatever I want. That's what he said, Mr. Schumer, whatever I want, here's who I want. I want Adam Schiff. I want Hunter Biden. I want Joe Biden. I want the whistleblower. I want to also understand there may be additional people within the House Intelligence Committee that have had conversations with that whistleblower. I get anybody we want. By the way, if we get anybody we want, we will be here for a very long time. The fact of the matter is, we're not here to argue witnesses tonight, but it obviously is an undercurrent. But to say that this is not going to extend this proceeding, months. Because understand something else. Despite the, executive privilege and other nonsense, I suspect Manager Schiff, smart guy, he's going to say, wait a minute, I got some speech and debate privileges that may be applicable to this. I'm not saying that they are, but they may raise it, be legitimate to raise it. So this is a process that this would be the first of many weeks. I think we've got to be clear. They put this forward in an aggressive and fast-paced way. And now they're saying, now we need witnesses. After 31 or 32 times you said you proved every aspect of your case. That's what you said. Well, you didn't. You said he just said he did. Well, then I don't think we need any witnesses.
And they started to try to bring in bribery and extortion into the 2 articles that they didn't put in, and making this case that abuse of power is actually the highest, even though they could have put one of those would actually be from, directly from the Constitution and the impeachment clause. So, again, I think, we called out directly, too, that, this idea that they're just going to be able to call witnesses, not us, be absurd. And as my dad pointed out, when Chuck Schumer said, well, you can have anyone you want, he said, anyone I want, Leader Schumer. That's anyone. So he pointed, he said, I want Adam Schiff. I want Joe Biden, I want Hunter Biden, I want the whistleblower, and I want your staff, Adam Schiff, and all the contacts they've had with that whistleblower. So that made sense to the room.
Now House Democrats say they have proved their case, that the case is overwhelming, that they have proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But hey, guess what? Now we need new witnesses. We should keep in mind this fact, that the House of Representatives called 18 18 fact witnesses, as I understand. They allowed House Republicans to call exactly 0 factual witnesses. And so, again, that was a one-sided process in the House, and now they believe that they get to call only Democrat witnesses. Well, the Senate is committed to a fair trial, unlike the House of Representatives. And a fair trial means that the president and the president's counsel get the opportunity to call their witnesses and to cross-examine their witnesses. And guess what? In the Senate, the House does not control the process.
There are reports that a couple of Republican senators, namely Cory Gardner and Martha McSally, who Democrats had been targeting to vote with them to extend this trial, call additional witnesses, many of which the House did not call. They have now said they are not going to do that. They have seen enough evidence. They are ready to vote. There are also indications that Lisa Murkowski and Lamar Alexander may be leaning that way as well. We haven't seen quite as firm of a statement from them. But that would mean even if the two remaining Republicans that have been talked about, Susan Collins and Mitt Romney, were to vote to extend the trial, the Democrats would still be 2 votes short of the 51 necessary to extend the trial out. That would mean, folks, that tomorrow, after 4 hours of debate and then disposing of that motion on calling additional witnesses, Leader McConnell could call for a final vote on the underlying articles, and it is expected that he would do that. If that happens, folks, here's what I'm going to project to you. I think you're going to see at least 55 votes for the exoneration of President Trump.
Probably a full day today, going late into the night. I mean, these 8 hours of questions, as you know, Fan, working on Capitol Hill, it's not 8 hours straight. There's breaks. That doesn't count towards the time. So it's not like it starts at 1 and it's over at 9. So we're prepared for that. Then we're prepared for the next day, which will be the vote on the witness question and the evidence question. And then there'll be 4 hours of argument, 2 hours for each side on that. Tomorrow, we're going to really know where things are at that point. But we're prepared for every possible outcome. And today is an important day because we get to directly answer the senators' questions, and they're kind of their follow-ups from the questions they asked yesterday. And I think that's important as well.
And the fact is, look, each one of these individual senators are going to come to their own conclusion. We've put on and continue to put on a very strong case. We're not done yet. We've got another 8 hours of questioning today and then arguments on witnesses tomorrow. So we'll probably have an answer to that by tomorrow evening. And then assuming there's no witnesses, we would probably go to closing arguments either Friday evening or Saturday morning.